Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Let's go ahead and jump into those questions. Cindy, what do we have?
Our first one is from Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York. I'm looking for Mac software that would allow me to control network activity on all the computers in my network, Windows, Mac, and Android. What does the panel recommend?
Go, Jason.
There are a lot of options here, but I think the safest way to do this is actually through your router. If you end up with a Ubiquiti router, the software that is just built in has an incredible amount of packet and destination control. It's pretty staggering, and it's very easy to use.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what exactly you mean by control network activity. What exactly do you want to do or need to do on the network? This would typically be done, yes, in your network stack, on your firewall, on your gateway, on your router, and to a certain extent on your switches. So let us know if you want to ask another question. Let us know exactly what you need to do on the network.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, so this is more like an IT question more than anything else. It's just like not an easy software you can install on one Mac and then have an overview and control of every device you have on your network. That would be kind of crazy. And I don't necessarily understand the question as to control. I would read the question like in view and monitor the network traffic. In that case, you can install software on your Mac that are actually connecting to each and every device on your network, running agents. Those agents are reporting that specific machines or equipment's usage of the network, so that you can have that agent send that information to your software running on your Mac, and then create reports out of that. There are several solutions. One of them is something from Parsec, which I've been using before. And all these are very restrictive in installing in, let's say, a corporate environment where the IT staff would probably deny you to do this. And there are other solutions as well. I've been doing IT since the early 90s and have been using loads and loads of these different types of softwares. They are often digging very deep into the systems and are really, you have to be in a trusting environment to do those stuff. So be careful.
Yeah, I've never seen this done without using the router. So that's managing all those things. I mean, because there's going to be things that don't have the agents. There's things that they're, and for me, for the last 15 years, the only two that I've used have been Meraki and Ubiquiti. Those are the two that I've, and in my home case, I have a Dream Machine Pro, which shows me everything connected to everything. And I'm using Ubiquiti's modem. I'm using their APs. So everything connected to my network, all the way to where it goes out the internet, is all something I can see. Not only can I see it, I can turn it on and off. I can decide that this device can't connect to my network, and it can't connect anywhere to my network. As soon as I say I don't want this device to connect, Wi-Fi, wired, doesn't matter. And I can see what it's doing at any given time. I don't know how I would do that in something other than the router. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, certainly to control the network, you need to work with your network stack, your network hardware. But yeah, to support what Ronnie was talking about earlier with regards to monitoring, PRTG 100% is, especially if you're running like professional grade, enterprise grade networking hardware from the likes of Cisco, for example. PRTG is the way to go. You can also build your own or incorporate solutions, pre-built solutions that run on Grafana to give you very, very powerful monitoring and statistics information.
Next question.
Peter Moore in Auckland, New Zealand asks, Teenage Engineering has done it again. The OP1 is the first synth to be certified for and travel to space on the Fram 2 mission. Thoughts? With a link.
Good, Courtney.
Well, I took a look at it. It's kind of hard to, when you look at it at first. Teenage Engineering makes some very well-engineered stuff. This is a metal-engineered synth. which looks kind of like a toy Casio synthesizer that would sit on your lap, but it is apparently much more than that. It's very thin. It runs on batteries. It has FM transmission of audio plus USB, built-in batteries that will run it for 24 hours. But the keyboard's a little lacking. I guess it's for composers who want to compose stuff and add tracks. It's got a built-in tape recorder or record feature that emulates the old Portatrack 4-track cassette recorders, if you remember that. All of you old synth people that and recordists out there remember those Portatracks. That's kind of built in. But it's kind of hard to see exactly what is new and what it does because its list of, let me scroll down here to the list of improvements, or maybe it's the other direction. It's $2,000. So it looks like a toy, but it obviously is not. And that's probably why here's the list of features that it's gone to. It has a variety of synth engines built in. If you wade through all this entire list of stuff, there's a lot of features built in there. So I guess its value has a stereo cluster synth engine, stereo digital synth engine, stereo FM synth engine, stereo phase synth engine, stereo pulse synth engine, stereo string synth engine,
it's busy,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jesse.
You asked for thoughts, so I'm going to give you some thoughts. My first is that it's really, really fun to love space travel because when you look at huge explosions of technology in society, there's usually an incredibly huge and violent war going on around that technological explosion. And the space race, well, there's definitely, it's impossible to separate it from the Cold War. It's one of those huge booms of thought and technology and implementation that it kind of exists a little bit independently from war, and very independently if you allow it, if you're able to kind of separate it intellectually from the Cold War. And there's always been a sort of branding component going on with space race and space technology. So if you think about Tang would not exist in the public consciousness today if it wasn't what the astronauts drank. That's why it's the idea resonates and still survives long beyond
Tang?
the brand.
Is it still out there? Do they still make Tang?
I think it's still being made. I think I saw some at Costco a couple of months ago in giant buckets, and I told my kid, like, that's what the astronauts drink.
Yeah.
Definitely not the cachet that it had back in the 60s, but
I mean, nowadays people look
minds.
sideways at drinking orange juice, let alone Tang.
So I say, welcome to the club, OP1. We know you're only up there to try to get some of that sweet space travel excitement attached to your brand. But, you know, who wasn't trying to get a little bit of that space race juju attached to their brand back in the day?
Next question.
Here's one from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. For a high school teacher, anybody have learning resources that cover a wide range of audio production they want to share? I have several students who will be seniors next year that are strictly interested in audio production.
Go ahead, Marty.
There are a number of resources available from various organizations in the industry, like Sound Girls and a bunch of organizations that are dedicated to educating audio engineers for houses of worship. However, I would recommend reaching out to your community, look for concert venues, look for professional theater, look for recording studios, and see if you can find some of the engineers that work in these places and invite them to talk to your students at the school. Or especially if you can arrange to have that done, if you have an auditorium that has mixing console, stuff like that, a sound system in the school. Otherwise, you might even be able to arrange for a field trip to visit one of these facilities. It would be great for students to go into an actual recording studio or to a theater to see what the technology is there, to talk with the engineers about how they produce the shows and the events that they do.
Go, Jeff.
One of the things Blackmagic does, which is phenomenal, is they host and offer a tremendous amount of incredibly useful free training. In our DaVinci Resolve channel on Discord, I posted, I don't know, I think last week, let me bring it up, the newest released schedule. And look at the timing, because coming up in May is their full audio certification for Fairlight. I've done this. This is serious business. This is, 4 days? 5 days, 4 hours a day. So this is a 20-hour full training audio Fairlight certification class. It's phenomenal. It's not recorded, so you have to attend. So this whole schedule, their latest schedule they released, the orange is other than English classes. The titles in black are in English, but it's up there. If anyone can't find it or doesn't need it, feel free to ping me. I'm happy to send it to you.
Good, Mickey.
Yeah, I would highly recommend, in terms of just straight out technical knowledge and information, Sound Reinforcement Handbook from Yamaha. It covers a lot of the basics that will be important in whichever field of audio that they're interested in entering, be it film sound, location sound, post-production sound, music, broadcast, whichever field they want to get into. The information you'll find in the handbook, the Yamaha Sound Reinforcement Handbook, will be useful. Tone Benders, a podcast made by and for sound designers that work in film and TV narratives, is a great resource wherein it gets people thinking about the creative aspects of sound. The technical, anyone can learn the technical, anyone can do the technical stuff. It's getting the creative side that is harder to nurture and grow, and getting them started in thinking about the creative and emotional aspects of sound, I think, is a very important thing. That's a lot of people that work in the field tend to forget. They're all about the tech, but they lose the emotion, which is the driving force behind good sound, in my opinion. Another podcast that I like listening to is Working Class Audio and Soundworks Collection. When it comes to sound for narrative, Soundworks Collection is a great resource. Again, learning about the creative aspects of it. I have to also support what Marty mentioned about talking to the people who actually do it, because maybe some may have different may have a misconception about what the audio field is like. So talking to people who are really doing it on a day-by-day basis would give a real world example of what doing this actually takes and what it entails, and clarifies things for folks who are, or for younger people who are who are thinking or considering and getting into the field.
I think it also depends on what kind of audio production we're talking about too. There's so many places and so many different things that they could be doing. I think that some good YouTube resources as well. Audio University is a pretty good one for covering basics, so you can kind of understand what the different things are. I think they go through them fairly. The host goes through them fairly methodically. I do like watching Dave Ratt. Dave Ratt will break stuff down and talk about things that are real world, like this is what I'm in the middle of, and I find that to be interesting. From a podcast perspective, 20,000 Hertz is another podcast that I like to listen to. It's just really, just about something that's in audio, and it's a very wide range. I would recommend that as well. But yeah, the most important thing is to do it and to find people who know a lot about it and have them listen to it and pick at what you're doing, as well as watching what they're doing. If there's any way that those seniors can work side by side with folks that really know how to do this, you'll learn more standing next to someone who knows what they're doing than you will reading or watching books or videos. Next question.
Breon Smith in Trinidad, West Indies asks, has anyone seen the BP 3600 mic from Audio-Technica?
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yes. now, just to get deeper into it, yes, it has become sort of a staple you'd regularly see in large global events, especially sporting events. You see it in the FIFA the World Cup and all the different FIFA games, Formula One also, and a lot of venues of the Olympics. A lot of trucks now carry them. This is the 3600. This is a pre-production model though, before it was officially released in 2023, I believe. And this is it in a makeshift basket that they 3D printed. And this is it with a windjammer on top of it. It is larger than a basketball, with it fully covered up in this basket.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I looked at it for immersive, and if they do have individual furry windscreens that you can put on it, it makes it look like you've been attacked by a flock of tribbles. They're all grouped together to handle the heavier wind speeds, and of course that's something you really have to take in consideration of, because wind outdoors, especially with these condenser microphones, can ruin your whole day, and if there's any wind at all. So wind protection is paramount in having something like this if you're capturing ambient sounds outside and not inside the stadium, let's say, where there's not any flow of wind. It has a nice cable where it gathers all the 8 individual feeds to the microphones through a single cable, and then it has a breakout at the end into individual XLRs. And I like Audio-Technica. I don't know if it's worth the $4,300, because you've got a lot of microphones there. It's nice that the capsules on the satellite connector are all color-coded, so you can tell when one of them dies or something, which one it was.
One question, Mickey, how do you use these in your mix? So if you've got 8 mics kind of going, just pointed outward, what do you use? How do you use them?
So yeah, they're oriented in a way so that it can work directly in an immersive mix or immersive format with height channels. So you have 4 channels pointed up, and then you have 4 channels pointed down. So you can have, say, a quad in your horizontal plane, and then a quad as well in your height channels. So it's designed to be used that way. But from what I've seen mixers do, I haven't mixed with it myself, but from what I've seen mixers do is that they still process it so that they're able to get a bit of a center channel, and also do some filtering so that they can route it to the LFE in situations wherein you may want LFE information, say for music events. But the way Audio-Technica designed it is you can just route it straight on through. You just have a bed that you can play low, wherein you can add your actual effects mics on top.
Next question.
This one's from me, Cindy Drozda in Erie, Colorado. I'm still looking for good quality in-ear monitors that stay in and are comfortable. What advice can the panel give on what brand to get and how to get the best sound out of them?
Go ahead, Jeff.
There's a couple things. I'll first show Alex if you want to talk about it, but this is just one that Alex has recommended previously, this Linsol, and there you go, that. But I will argue, and if I recall correctly, I think the big thing you mentioned is that it exposes everything, for better or for worse, in the audio that you listen to this. But we were talking about this earlier. I would argue that fit is way more important. And so we talked about doing custom molds. Of course, the correct way is to go to an audiologist or to one of the companies that makes custom in-ears, and you can start spending upwards of over $1,000 or more to get a really good pair. Now, I'm just going to tell you what I have done is gone down the road of doing the molds yourself if you can get past the comfort. But this is really how it's done. And just to show you an experiment, and it helps when you have a friend that owns a lab that does custom molding, because what happens is after you get, if you really do a mold, what happens is you get they make an actual mold of your ear, and it looks like this, a reverse impression. And if you can get this, then you can go nuts, and you can just start experimenting like I've done here with these, with different materials. And, you know, we talked about getting the best fit. I will say a really good fit or a pretty good fit is better than no fit. And the experiment, by the way, these are all just the Apple, I forget what they call them, but the wired earbuds that come with iPhone. And these are all different materials, and every single one of these is, I mean, it's night and day. They don't sound like the Apple earbuds they ship with. And different materials, what this really proved, also makes a difference for how it sounds, but also how much you may care about external sound, if you're trying to block it out or if you want to get a little bit of sound. This is, so the two opposite extremes, soft silicone is the best fit and the most comfortable, and of course blocks out everything, and you can wear it a really, really long time. A bit of a harder material, almost like a plastic, also a really good fit, but lets a little bit more exterior sound in. But this is the road I would go down. If you just search ear mold kits on Amazon or anywhere really, there's different companies that offer kits that are specifically meant for earbuds. The trick is maintaining the audio canal when you do this mold. But it's the same material they use for custom earplugs, and some of the companies just offer it like Decibels. I've ordered their stuff before. Good company, good customer support from them as well. So experiment, but if you're comfortable with the be safe, this kit in particular shows you the trick, which is a little bit of foam if you're going to do it. One other thing I learned is you don't have to go quite as far as an actual audiologist would go. They show you going way deep into the ear canal. I wouldn't recommend anyone try and do that themselves. I certainly didn't, and it's not necessary to get a pretty good fit.
Yep, go running.
Yeah, agreed with everything said. My ear is kind of special, so I've been testing almost everything I could get my hand on. The one that are just fitting my ear by default is the Sennheiser IE100 Pro, which I'm wearing now. And the reason for me using those is I was lucky and could have a kind of custom fit feeling, even though you in the panel, you sometimes see me touching it and pushing it into place. The best thing to do to get something that is really comfortable is, of course, to have a mold made. I also have a custom mold, so I have two custom mold products, and those are both coming from a company called ACS, which I might be able to play a video from while we're talking. And what they did, they had this kind of doctor traveling between each city in Norway, and was making these custom molds, which then are transferred to their factory in UK, and they did a digital version of this, a digital replica, and they can make any type of product based on that mold. So I ordered this with a three-way, so a bass, mid, and high-range tweeters inside it, and are absolutely confident that these are the most high-quality in-ears I've ever owned. They are a little bit costly, of course, but mixing with them is a blast, and it protects my ear from anything coming from the outside. So if I'm going to add some outside audio, I need to have a microphone that is relaying that information as well. I've also used them on my motorcycle when riding. So besides that, you can have products like dampeners. So I have a 18 dB dampening kit for these, and I'm able to order loads of different types of products from them, since they already have my ear mold in their stock, so to speak. So having a company making this for you is a good idea, and you will be comfortable, and you can order more as the years go by.
Good, Marty.
I've had custom ear tips made by Sensophonics for both broadcast announcers and for musicians. And they're very different types of ear tips. And you can have these custom ear tips made for many different brands of actual monitor drivers. They'll make them for Etymotic and for Westone. I'm using Westones right now, but with the generic ear tips. And my ears are a little bit difficult to fit. They're different sizes, so I have different size tips in each ear, and that's really important to get a good seal. When you have a good seal, the bass response comes up and is proper. If you have a loose seal and you've got leakage, you will lose all your bass response. In terms of fitting a custom ear tip, I've never recommended anybody try to stuff material in their ear themselves, because in order to get a good fit, the shape of your ear canal changes as you talk, as you move your mouth around. And so it's important to get a good quality ear mold. If it doesn't accommodate the shape of your ears, the ear tip that you have made from that mold won't fit properly. So a really good fit goes down beyond the second bend in the ear canal, which you really want to be very careful of. You want to have that done professionally. So, but if you're, just talking like we're talking here, and you're not moving around a little bit, it may not be necessary to go that deep. It's a matter of your application. It changes.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, in terms of specific models and brands, what I use on the daily is the Shure SE535. They also have a 425 if you're looking for something a bit more affordable, and also a 215, which is really, really affordable. Other brands that are popular are Etymotic, Westone, as mentioned by Marty earlier. If you want to step up in terms of quality, there's JH Audio, Jerry Harvey Audio, and also 64 Audio. These are at the professional grade where people are using these to do their jobs. In terms of comfort, I agree 100% that the best solution for comfort is to get ones that are custom molded for your ears, because they are shaped exactly for your ears. They end up like being the most comfortable solution. If you don't want to spend that much, another option is to try different size foam ear tips, because again, those would shape itself to your ears each time you put them in, more than any of like the silicone ear tips would do. If audio fidelity is not a factor for you, and you just need to be able to monitor, a lot of people, I use these a lot, the Bumblebee Industry Sidekick, and the talents that put them on like totally forget they're wearing them like the entire day, like a 12-hour shooting day. They just keep it on. They forget they're wearing it. And they also have an option for an ear tip that is, I think they call it the satellite ear tip, wherein they can they can hear the outside world together with the actual IFB audio that's coming in through the earpiece. So again, they just keep it on all day long. Recently, just at NAB, a production sound mixer that also has a product line of different monitoring solutions released what he calls the Pico, and it is kind of similar to the Bumblebee Sidekick, but at a much more affordable price point, about 100 US. I have not tried it myself, but I think his name is the production sound mixer. His name is Doc Justice. I have a bunch of his other monitoring solutions. Yeah, I have his little on-ear monitors called the scene monitor or something like that. And they're for a more affordable option for headphones to give out to for IFBs for clients and directors and script supervisors. They're pretty darn good. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Pico that he recently released is also a good product.
Next question.
Next one's from Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York. Morning, everyone. Panel, comparing the Behringer Wing Rack to the Allen Heath SQ-Rack, which one would you recommend for virtual productions? Which one, in your estimation, gives the best output for the price?
Good, Marty.
All right, so the Behringer Rack versus the Allen Heath SQ-Rack, it's kind of a toss-up, and it depends on if you have any existing equipment from either of these manufacturers. Of course, they use different stage box interfaces. The SQ-Rack, Allen Heath has a number of stage boxes, including some Dante stage boxes, which is very cool. The Wing Rack uses stage boxes from both Behringer and Midas and Clark Technic, which makes them very, very versatile, including the Stage Connect system, which is stage boxes that connects to the mixer via standard XLR cable instead of Cat5. In terms of capability, I think they're very similar. Allen Heath, the Wing Rack came out before the Allen Heath, and the SQ workflow is a bit different than the Behringer workflow. So if you're familiar with Behringer and the Wing, that might be more to your liking. They have very similar capabilities, very similar analog I/O on the back. I think the Allen Heath has a larger total channel count, maybe, than the Wing does. I have been looking forward to, and have not yet had the ability to get my hands on a Wing, either console or rack, to check it out. I'm looking forward to that. But then again, there's the considerations between the two manufacturers and their support. I haven't really been impressed with Behringer. Their lack of support is famous. Allen Heath pretty much relegates support to the local representatives, which doesn't really impress me either, but I think is better than the Behringer support.
Good, Mickey.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of fidelity, between the two product lines, they're very similar. The analog circuitry and preamps on the Wing are certainly a massive step up from the X32 line. But just bear in mind that both of these product lines are in the extremely budget range in terms of digital mixing consoles for live. But between the two, I would 100% go with Allen Heath because of their after-sales support and the overall reliability and build quality of their products compared to anything else in the market. Behringer is really it has given a lot of people headaches in terms of failures because of failures of their products.
Next question.
Gareth in Munich is asking, I have a standing desk and like to wander during calls away from my MacBook. Is it possible to get a good quality wireless headset? What recommendations do you have?
Good, Courtney.
Well, it kind of depends on your budget, how much you want to spend. I like the Sony Bluetooth headsets. They make a cheaper one, like this $40 one. But the cream of the crop is this over-the-ear, much more comfortable to wear long during the day. The WH-1000 XM4. It has a built-in microphone, so you can take calls on it. The microphone is kind of built into the ear cup there. Has a 24-hour battery life, rechargeable. And it has Alexa built in, and so you can control things in your studio with them. If you do have any problem with Bluetooth, I have a friend who has these, and we tried them out, and he had a few dropouts depending upon how much metal is in your building or as how far you're walking around. We solved the problem of occasional dropouts by adding this external USB attached Bluetooth transmitter, because sometimes the antennas that are built into laptops don't really do a great job if you wander more than 10 or 15 feet away from the computer.
Good, Mickey.
Yeah, good quality. I think it's hard to define what one means by good quality. If you're willing to, play the game and invest in this, you could get a Countryman headset microphone like an H6 or even a DPA headset microphone. Get a wireless pack. You can get a secondhand Sennheiser G3 system, for example, or in this case, if this is just for calls, like this is one situation where I wouldn't hesitate to recommend something like a Rode Wireless Go, and plug a good headset microphone into it, get an actual like wireless system instead of just relying on Bluetooth, and get good fidelity through that. You can use, in terms of your own monitoring, you can use Bluetooth earbud. Again, this is not a production situation, so I'm okay recommending Bluetooth for this, for monitoring. Or you can, again, if you want to play the game and play it hard, you can get an actual like in-ear monitor system from the likes of Shure PSM 300 or PSM 1000, or even like a Sennheiser 300 series or 400 series IAM system.
Go, Jeff.
I'll throw it out there only because I don't see the hands raised, just so it gets a mention, Alex, if you want to talk about it. But the Shocks bone conduction headsets have a version with a little boom mic, and Jason is showing it. And if I recall, again, Alex, if you want to talk about it, but I think you said it had a mode of when you flip it up, flip it down. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to walk away from my desk, this is all I use. So, and so this is the OpenComm. This is the brand new one. This has USB-C charging, which, that's the biggest problem with these was they have some custom charging unit. And if you forget it, it's impossible to get. So having USB-C, I think that's all they updated to this. Is about $150. The boom makes a big difference. You can have a lot of noise around you, and you're not going to hear it. You can be shuffling papers and doing lots of other things. I won't buy a Bluetooth headset that I plan to actually use on a call that doesn't have a boom because the physics, so you pick up a lot less stuff with this boom. It also has a mic on the outside, so it's filtering out stuff that is coming from the environment. So I really like these. I use them a lot. I have 3 sets of them. I have 5 sets, but I have an older set. But I pretty much can go for a long time without charging any of them, and that's why I have so many sets of them. But I generally have them hanging here, and I just grab one when I'm going to jump on a call. And so if I'm going to be in the room here, I tend to sit down and just be at my desk. But as soon as I walk away from my desk, this is what I'm using. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I love the Shocks. I love the newest USB version. And if you want to block out noise with them, the trick is, so these are my Sensophonics custom earplugs. And because they are bone induction, you can add earplugs to the bone induction headset and very quickly find yourself in a quiet place. And
I have to, one thing I will say is that I think we're close to, after the last show I did, everybody's got different headsets and they've got all these Apple like whatevers that are constantly falling out and all these other things, that I've just decided to buy a bunch of these OpenComms. And when we hand people something, if they're going to use their phone like Unity or something like that, I'm just going to hand them the headset. like here, I just need you to use the one that works, because they're all these different, it sounds so much better than everything else. Definitely better than the Apple headsets, which I don't use very often. Next question.
Here's one from Brett in Western Australia. I'm sure I'm repeating a question that gets asked all the time. Sorry. I'm looking to replace the mic that I use for Zoom presentations. I know most of you use SM7Bs, but they are quite pricey. I'm thinking Rode Procaster. Any other suggestions?
Good, Mickey.
Yeah, if you're on a budget, I would highly recommend the Shure MV6. It's from the same family of capsules. The same lineage as the SM7B, and it's only $150.
Hey, good, Marty.
So I just want to caution, when we're talking about the quality of your microphone, it is the most important single item in your entire signal chain. And it's worth spending a little bit of money, even pushing your budget just a little bit to get a better product. And I'll cite the study that was published just recently by NPR that showed exactly the difference that the impression you make can have on your audience when your audio sounds better.
Yep, and I would agree with Marty and Mickey in the sense that it is important, and the best bang for your buck right now is the MV6. Next question.
Andy Kokendorfer in Viera, Florida asks, I recently used a Rally bar system with daisy-chained boundary mics with success. Any similar mic systems that can be daisy-chained and connected directly to a laptop?
Rally bar system.
I think this is a Logitech unit that is like a microphone array where you can connect additional microphones, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to find out what a Rally bar is. But for alternatives, Shure and others make conference systems that are exactly that. They're desktop gooseneck microphone bases that daisy chain with each other. They connect. The daisy chain is like Cat5 cable, and they go into a head unit that can then have either an analog or a digital output. And it's meant for that purpose, to have a large number of microphones around a table, or that can auto switch between microphones, so you don't have more than one open.
Yeah, I think that also when it works, look at the room that you were in as well. When you start having things that are got a lot of distance from the people who are speaking, if it's working, a lot of times it's because of the room, and more because of the room and less because of the mics. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of room it was used in. Next question.
This one's from me. Is it possible to get a hardware or software mute switch that I can use with the mic plugged into the computer without having an audio interface?
Go ahead, Marty. I can't hear you, Marty.
Sorry. Stream Deck. Stream Deck is, a button pad device that's software controlled. It controls the computer, it controls the software. You can get, it will mute your microphone into Zoom or mute your microphone into the entire computer, your choice. It's fairly inexpensive to get the smaller unit. You can get a unit with like just 6 buttons on it, which gives you some additional options as well.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was going to say. But just to go a little bit further in that, you're probably, if you're talking about like a USB mic, you're actually better equipped to do this than if you had a classical audio interface with knobs that affected your gain. It is the fact that the ability that the gain for a fully USB compliant device is controllable from the OS, which is what the Stream Deck is going to talk to. So the Stream Deck is going to be able to see that device, and the input is adjusted. It's a numerical value that you can script and automate and everything else. And so the gain value can be changed by any software, including automation, including shortcuts, which if you're on a Mac, you already have, by the way. So there's a number of options, but Stream Deck will do the same thing, and you're set up if you have a USB mic.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Certainly, you would need some sort of software mixing or processing software to be able to do this. There are a variety of options, both on Mac OS and also on Windows, and you can control these through, for example, on with Audio Hijack, you can create shortcuts built into Mac OS, or with other solutions, you can also have MIDI controllers to control the muting of those of your microphone channel. I know there is I forget the name of the software that Chris Fenwick, I think a year or two ago, created a video on, and that one allows him to control his mutes and even his levels using a MIDI controller. But yeah, either way, you would need some sort of mixing or audio processing platform to do it in software.
Good, Courtney.
Yeah, there are a number of microphones with built-in mute switches. Sennheiser makes a nice cardioid here for about $109. It has a USB with a mute button right there on the front of the case. So you can use that. If you've got like a headset mic or something that's plugging into the analog inputs on your computer, like the headset input, the TRRS mini plug, you're not going to find a mechanical mute button that works very well because those mics are biased with 1.5 volts or 5 volts coming out of the computer. And anytime you interrupt that 5 volts with a switch or try and shunt it to ground, it's going to create a pop. So they don't work. I haven't found any that work very well on those type of microphones. You're probably going to have to get something with a USB interface to get the mic in, or as was said, use Stream Deck to mute it internally in the computer itself with software.
Next question.
This one's from Jack Cannon in Phoenix, Arizona. Using Parsec, I'm getting an error with not being able to connect to my remote computer. I'm at a hotel and tried with a VPN and without the VPN. Any ideas why it won't work?
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, Parsec requires a specific port. So by default, this port randomly changes to a random port every time you launch Parsec. But it requires that port to be open both at your remote location and also the location where the machine is at. So, for example, if your hotel does not have that port open and only allows port 80 or 8000 or the standard HTTP ports, then Parsec will not work.
Next question. Can't hear you, Cindy.
Oh, sorry. This one's from Andy Kokendorfer in Viera, Florida. Will office hours be at InfoComm in Orlando, Florida this June?
I don't think we will. It's definitely something that we should be thinking more about as far as covering InfoComm. It's kind of like the NAB for corporate. And we should be looking at it. The problem is that it runs right up against WWDC and Cinegear. And so those are two things that we tend to spend a lot of energy on. And so the timing of it makes it hard for us to focus on that many things at one time. Yeah, go ahead, Marty.
I think I'm going to be there with flat panel audio loudspeakers. If anybody wants to come by and say hi.
Cool. Excellent. Maybe we'll get Marty to do a little tour for us as well. So we'll try to figure that out. Next question.
Blalock Lopez Waterman in San Jose, California asks, when I was in college an eon ago, I took a number of sound courses. The audio world was much more analog at that time, but what I remember is talking about the most simple audio chain, sound energy to electricity and change it back. Still true?
Go ahead, Marty.
Well, I believe it still holds that humans exclusively have analog inputs and outputs. And so in that regard, whatever you want to put in between can be either analog or digital. Both work. Depends on how simple you want your chain to be and what you need to do with it. There's inputs, outputs, processing in between, recording, distribution, all kinds of things that happen to the signal between your mouth and your ears. But yes, it is still true that the simplest audio chain will usually be the cleanest. And depending on, what you're starting with, can be the best sounding. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have an excellent input, you'll get an excellent output with minimal interaction in between.
Go, Jesse.
Why keep this confined to audio? I believe that whether it's technical or romantic, the straightest line is the one that you should be pursuing.
Next question.
This was from Douglas Carmichael. Has anyone used Flock Audio's digitally controlled analog patching systems?
I haven't. I have to admit that I'm somewhat intrigued. So it is. So you see this. This is the patch audio here, but they have lots of little control panels, and then a lot of DB25s to kind of connect everything to everything else. It does seem like a pretty interesting patch system. But I don't know anybody. I've never seen one in the wild other than when you just brought it up. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I haven't used it myself, but I know that a lot of smaller recording studios, especially ones that cater to music, utilize them, wherein they have a lot of outboard hardware, but not enough I/O to have all of them patched in at the same time. And having a digital patch bay wherein they can recall the patch for a track in a matter of a couple of clicks is really useful for them.
Next question.
Tim Snyder in Louisville, Kentucky asks, is there a good set of headphones out there that are good at removing outside sounds? Our team currently uses Vic Firth SIH3.
Go ahead, Mickey.
So yeah, this one doesn't necessarily remove outside sounds, but it isolates against outside sounds. This is the Remote Audio HN7506, wherein they take an aviation headset and put in the drivers for a standard Sony 7506 on them. You can also get them with boom microphones. So if you need to connect them to an intercom system, you can do that as well.
Next question.
Zach Stahl-Smith in Chautauqua, New York asks, I am looking for a blow-up projection screen and projector for outdoor movies for a crowd of about 500 people. Most likely we'll have 220-volt power at the venue, but it may be 110-volt. So I'm looking for options. Thanks.
Yeah, so the blow-up screens are pretty cool, especially when you get to larger sizes. It's going to be hard to find a blow-up projector. You said, yeah, blow-up screen, projector and screen. It's a little, punctuation matters. So anyway, but the projectors, it's just how bright it is. So one of the things you want to think about when you're doing the projection for an outdoor movie is what time are you going to start it? And really the time is going to be just a little bit before sunset. If you do anything much earlier than that, you're really looking at an LED wall. Like you just can't, it doesn't really matter. You're never going to get really good exposure. This is one that we used in Cambodia. This was a 30-foot screen. One thing to think about as you start to look at these is these weights. So as you start to get larger, remember that you're building a big sail, and that is pretty light. And so if you get a lot of, so what we have here are these are big water tanks that we use to basically tie this down. And even then, if we had gotten some pretty heavy gusts, it could have taken off. And the other issue that you're going to have is that when the wind goes, even if it's going across, which is what we had in this case, this will bow in and out, and that affects your focus. So that it's something you have to kind of pay some attention to as you start to build these. It depends on how big now this was for I think 2,000 people, but you can see us kind of struggling. We're working on focus here, but as it starts to get darker, you can start to see that even there it's not as dark as we'd like it. Here's it is playing at night. We were doing a test at night, I think, for this one here. This is what we were using for those projectors. So those are two 25K Barcos, were what trained on each other was what we were using in the field. This was at Anchor Watt. And they serve bugs, so which are quite crunchy. Anyway, so but I would recommend thinking about as you get larger, just remember you're building a sail. So they sell a lot of these. The other thing to remember is that the fan makes noise. So there's a constant fan that runs to keep it inflated, and you'll hear this as it's running. So you've got to have a good sound system that's going to kind of overtake that. In our case, we had a 5.1, pretty powerful sound system that was actually built into the whole system to make it work. So it was enough to overpower what that fan looked like, but you will notice the fan when nothing else is running. So think about that. Just think about how big it needs to be. I would say up to 10 feet. I'd really think about just something that stands up. I've got screens that I've stood up that I bought for a couple $100 that I can stand up at 10 feet. As you go over that, the inflatable starts to make sense, but just remember that you're talking about fans, you're talking about sails, you're talking about weights, you're talking, there's more to it than just, I'm going to blow it up and set it up. So those are things to kind of keep in mind as you go down that path, but they are a lot of fun. Next question.
Next up is Adam Finesilver in Orlando, Florida. Any thoughts on the new Netflix-style Vimeo streaming service? Is this essentially a more fluid way to store and deliver content without getting into the intricacies of delivery platforms?
Go, Jesse.
This looks like really brilliant implementation of what Vimeo is good at. They've kind of got like two pillars that I consider. The first is video delivery, and the other is the ability to charge people money and bring cash into the business and move money around efficiently. This combines those in a really elegant way for monthly or annual subscriptions for your users. Looks like a beautiful interface. It's a very, very efficient platform, a very convenient one once you get into the paid ecosystem. The challenge will be getting your audience onto your bespoke streaming platform. So people with a large audience will find this to be tremendously valuable. People who are just starting out or don't have a large following might find it interesting to play with, but frustrating in terms of actual income.
Yeah, and this is something, if you have your own brand and you have your own following and you can actually build it, the advantage of working in something like YouTube or other things like that is that you get some social glow to it. Vimeo's been doing this for a long time. If you know that you can drive people to your app, I believe it was the last time I talked to them, it was $10,000 or $15,000 a platform, to have them build this out for you. So it wasn't like it was $10. Now they may have made it less expensive, but there was some investment that was required to make that actually happen. But it was, but compared to what it would take to do it yourself, it's a huge cost savings. So, but it allows you to kind of, again, roll it up and have your own app that you can deliver. And again, if you're putting it across all these different mobile apps, you're able to now deliver live or VOD to all of them from one location. So that's a big advantage there as well. It's a great service. It's the only service like it that I know of that is cost effective, but you're still going to be paying for transfer cost as well. Next question.
Andy Kokendorfer in Viera, Florida is asking, can you please identify this wireless mic and system? Great audio from our Canadian site, but not sure what they were using, with a link.
I don't know if anyone had a chance. Yeah, go ahead, Marty.
I can't identify it because there's no brand name, but this is one of those conference microphone systems I referred to earlier. I can maybe show what it looks like. Can I do that? Yep, there it goes. You can see up here the daisy chain. There's wire going in and wire going out. That goes to another microphone system. So this is a conference system where you can daisy chain a lot of microphones. And there's a head unit somewhere, a processor that takes all of them in and does auto switching and a little bit of processing. They have different features and different ones. I just can't quite tell which one this is.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I also asked the AI. It came up with the Shure MX412D, but I don't think that's it because the bass looks different. But it's a similar type microphone. This is the 412D, which is a gooseneck microphone with a push-to-talk on the bottom of it. But something similar like that are conference microphones, like was mentioned by Marty.
Next question.
From Douglas Carmichael, DPA has introduced their own wireless mic system. From the information they've given out, do you see any advantages over Shure's products?
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I joined the webinar they had a couple weeks or a couple months ago regarding when they first announced this. One thing that struck me was for an RF system that's released in 2025. It has no there's no remote control capability to control the transmitters remotely, which really surprised me. Nearly everyone else has remote control capability, especially in what might be considered the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to RF systems. So at this point, it doesn't really entice me. This system from DPA. I know DPA, their microphones are of excellent quality, but an RF system that's brand new that doesn't have what I would consider basics at this point in time, I think I would skip it. And that remote control capability is also one of the reasons why I've been slowly moving away from Lexosonics and moving over to Sound Devices RF systems, because remote control again in this day and age is just basic necessity now.
Next question.
Here's Jesse Kester in Glendale and on the panel today. The British Film Institute is screening a Technicolor print of Star Wars, last run through a projector in 1978. Anyone planning to get tickets? If we're going as a group, let's ride single file to hide our numbers.
Go ahead, Jesse.
So, Alex, I was wondering, like, we all know Mr. Lucas is pretty careful with how he presents his films to the public. Were you able to poke your eyes on some of these, older prints before it was even A New Hope, before it was Episode 4, when it was just Star Wars?
I think that I haven't seen them. The re-releases were coming out when I was working there, working at Lucasfilm. When those came out, and I know that I think that George saw it as his prerogative to fix stuff he didn't like, and that he doesn't, I don't think he ever wanted to see the old one again. Like, George is not really a past oriented kind of guy, so I think that it'll be interesting to see where this one. I don't even know where this one came from. But are they only showing it in the UK? Is the British Film Institute just be at BFI?
I think it's the opening film for their festival this year, and they might be having 2 screenings, but it might just be 1.
Yeah, I think that what you're going to find is that, obviously Han will shoot first, which is, that's always, we'll go back to that. But also that you'll find that the fighter scenes are much better in the re-releases than they were. There was so many limitations to getting the motion control to work with the X-Wings. And then John Knoll just made them what they should have been, and so there's all the matte lines will be gone, all the other stuff will be gone. There won't be this weird movement between them. And I have to admit that I got to watch the dailies for those where they compared the old X-Wing to the new X-Wings, and John just did such an amazing job with that I would never want to go back and watch the old ones, just because it's so fluid and so beautiful what he did with the rebuilds that I wouldn't bother with looking at the old ones. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, and I think the draw here is the Technicolor print. Die Ambition prints, which were still being made back in the 70s, hold up their color for much longer than regular Kodak film type prints. So a film type print from that era would be all red and ugly. So this may have retained its original color and have its original scratches when it last ran through the projector.
Yeah, exactly. It's welcome to, yeah. Anyway, so I'm, and again, I'm not really. I tend not to be that oriented towards nostalgia. Like, I just watch what's there. So I don't know if I would probably go to it. Anyway, but that's I'm looking forward to. I don't know if you've seen that they're going to rebuild the Wizard of Oz for the Sphere, which I'm might make a trip to Vegas to see. To see what that looks like. It looks pretty interesting. So thank you so much for all the great questions. We had so many great questions from our producers. We didn't get to all of them. If we didn't get to your questions, we sent them back to you. So if you can bring them in on another day. Obviously today is a great day to ask audio questions. They tend to get voted up more effectively than everything else because we've got these great audio experts here, and we really appreciate the panel. We can't do this without you. Thanks so much for being here and answering the questions and sharing your knowledge with everybody. And thanks to the incredible team on the back end that makes this possible. This is not something that happens by accident. It doesn't look like most other shows because of the incredible effort, not only by the panel and the producers, but by the incredible back end that makes this possible, that cuts the show, that manages the show, that engineers the show, that makes sure that all this hardware and software is running every single day, 7 days a week. No holidays off, no Sundays off, no anything off. We haven't missed a day for over 5 years. So thank you so much for the incredible dedication by the online team. Today, if we had done this in person, the Tlaloc Traversal, we would have traveled 48,000 miles. That's 78,000 kilometers, and that is 382 million bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into After Hours.
Alex, real question is, when they redo the Wizard of Oz, are they actually going to put it in front and put Dark Side of the Moon right over it? Just
I did the Dark Side of the Rainbow a couple days ago, and I just did the first 20 minutes. It's pretty cool. I hadn't done it. In a long time. It used to be really hard to do. Now it's pretty easy to do. So you start the Dark Side on the
when the lion roars for the third time.
Third roar, and But I think that you might have to take supplements to really get them.
And by supplements,
I wasn't ready to do that. I don't think that it wasn't as good as I think it could have been. But I didn't do that. So
there are YouTubes that have it already